Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you guys for continuing to rock with the channel, man. It's Antoine Smalls of Financial Blueprint. We are back live on YouTube to have another discussion, right? To tap into some good information and to continue to pour into you when it comes to topics over, important financial topics that impacts us, right? The everyday and American, as well as the people out here trying to get to that money, to that investment money, right? So the difference between a show on Tuesdays and a show on Thursday or Friday is Stock Market Live is a Thursday or Friday show. This week we're going to go and be live on Friday around 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll be live on YouTube to discuss the stock market and all of the things that has to do with money and the stocks specifically, right? Tuesday's show is going to be based on a topic that we're going to touch on to give you some information. We're going to review some things, and we're going to dive into specific topic on Tuesdays so that I can continue to pour into you guys and continue to grow, right, the channel. Like I always say, man, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share the content with someone who needs to hear it, right, and continue to come with me on this journey together. Today, we are talking about the warning signs that the U.S. economy is cracking. This year, what we've seen is the stock market take a huge dip when it comes to, April and the tariffs that we've seen from our president, Donald Trump, to to other countries and trade deals, to the stock market rising to all-time highs in August, and the continuance of the stock market continuing to go up while the U.S. economy is starting to slow down. And we have evidence of that with the unemployment discussion that we've had when it comes to the unemployment in August going up to 4.3%. And the current signs right now with everyday Americans that are struggling every day to pay their bills, to make enough money to feed their families. So much debt is being accumulated over the last 12 months. And we're going to have a real conversation about the differences between the stock market and the U.S. economy, because those two things do not always, work in the same direction, right? The market continues to move up while so many Americans are struggling and having a hard time making ends meet with the rate of inflation, with unemployment, and in the continued interest rate environment that we have been in that is causing issues when it comes to buying a home. Rent prices continue to go up. Home prices continue to go up, and there is no slowdown that we can see moving forward that's going to change anything. So we're going to give you some examples of how this is impacting the U.S. economy, and ultimately tips to try to help you and help the average American when it comes to tips and things that you can do to help you in your situation. All right, so right now we're going to take a look at a video where it basically talks strictly to the U.S. economy slowing down and the grind of uncertainty that we currently have. Let's take a look at it.
The Labor Department reports the United States economy added only 22,000 jobs last month, which is well below expectations. It is another worrying sign that the president's economic policies could be slowing our economic growth. In response, the president and his closest advisors are taking a new line. Just wait until next year. It's going to be great. All right, the nightcap is still here. Brendan, here's what I see from this report.
All right.
The president and the market are going to get what they want. We're going to cut rates. But we're not going to cut rates because inflation is under control. We're going to cut rates because the economy is slowing. That's not a good situation.
Yeah, and also we need to look at what's driving these numbers down, right? We're seeing a slow descent, but usually this is something that we get after a credit bubble. We didn't get that. There was no buildup. Right now, there are two things that are driving the American economy. It's investment in AI centers, data centers, and it's employment in healthcare. That's it. Healthcare is holding up the employment numbers. AI is holding up the business investment. Mm-hmm. If either of those things crater, there's nothing left holding up the whole structure. But usually what we're seeing now comes after like some exuberant buildup, some bubble that's got to be punctured. And it's hard to see the bubble in the American economy right now anywhere outside of AI data centers. And I think that's what's disturbing. What you're seeing right now is the slow grind, you and I talk about this all the time, of uncertainty. If you don't know what tariffs are going to be, if you don't know how tariffs are going to pass through to inflation, if you don't know how that's going to affect the job situation, if you don't know how immigrants affect your labor force, you can't invest.
Okay, but this is also why this is the best example of how the markets are different from the economy.
Yeah,
because if you're an investor, you could go all in investing in 7 companies associated with AI. And if you change your mind, you can sell 5 minutes from now. If you run a real business here, a big one or a small business, it's almost impossible to business plan because you have no idea what the regulations, what the tariffs, what anything is going to bring in the future. So you're not growing, you're not investing, you're not hiring. The president, who said, day one, we're lowering prices. Day one, there's going to be no regulation. There's going to be an M&A boom. It is going to be a bonanza. And now here we are. He actually said, just wait until next year. And he looked out at a table of tech leaders and said, when we're in your palaces of genius, that's where we're going to be next year. So he's just moving the goalposts.
And he's expanding the circle. Because having all those leaders kowtow to him was a really powerful moment for him, right? Yeah. It looked like an audition for The Apprentice.
It was a powerful show.
And they were all kissing his ass. And even someone like Bill Gates that you look to be strong, to be a voice of reason, to push back, I didn't see any of them push back. And I think that's the bigger issue, is that they're buying his shtick, and they're also echoing his shtick, which allows him to distort the truth, which is what he continues to do on national security. It's what he does in the economy. It's what he's going to do on Epstein. And that's been the real focus of their attacks in the last couple weeks, is the truth. They're bending the truth, and that's what's most dangerous.
They're not. I don't think they're buying his shtick. They're playing the game, but it has the same result, allowing him to bend the truth. When there was a time in our history not long ago when we would look to those business leaders to actually be leaders, yet none of them said one word about the fact that threatening the independence of the Federal Reserve could crater our market.
And there is somebody who's hiring. The military is hiring, and ICE is hiring, and there's going to be a lot of defense spending. So it's only a matter of time before those things merge. And we talk about the opportunity for AI around defense while we're simultaneously involved in forever war around the globe.
So the part of this video that I find fascinating is if you listen to the young lady that's moderating this dialogue between these individuals, she said there's a difference between the U.S. economy and the stock market, and the U.S. stock market. That is the most honest take that's important when it comes to this conversation. The U.S. stock market moving at a pace that we have not seen in a very long time, as well as companies like NVIDIA up 80% in a year, and other companies that are just booming when it comes to their stock price, is not a reflection of the U.S. economy. There is a difference between the United States economy, where average Americans, when it comes to their salary inflation or growth, has not met the same rate of inflation over the last 2 to 3 years, that the home prices are continuously going up because it is a seller's market due to the high interest rate environment that the Federal Reserve basically have us in, due to the rate of inflation after the pandemic, that most people, when it comes to, because they can't buy homes, will have to rent, which then supply and demand basically stays. If there is a lack of supply in the market for homes, then that means that there is a high demand for rental properties, which basically means that there are higher prices due to the high demand. There are higher prices in rent. So not only can the average American not afford a new home, the average American, especially the young adult, cannot afford rent. And that's not including the prices of groceries going up, the prices in gas going up, the prices in just everyday expenses rising over the last 2 years without significant upgrades in income for most Americans. So the U.S. economy and the U.S. stock market are not in the same boat when it comes to how they operate on a daily basis, right? That is the key to this video when they're talking about Donald Trump and him meeting with tech CEOs. And we went over this in our last live video last week about Donald Trump meeting with the CEOs of Google, Apple, Microsoft, as well as OpenAI to ensure that these business leaders are investing billions of dollars into the United States to then big up and build infrastructure when it comes to our technology and the dominance that we will have over the next 5 to 10 years. So understand that the US economy and the stock market are not correlated together, that they move in different ways, but it becomes a laggard effect to where the US economy is telling you as an investor that maybe you need to take notice at the possibility of an economic downturn that could happen very shortly, or at least in the next year or 2 years.
Is also the impact, right, of the way that Trump has shown a willingness or an outright glee for dipping his hand into other institutions. So we're talking education, we're talking law firms, we're talking going after other people like John Bolton, who he has disagreed with or have criticized him. His willingness to go into cultural and educational institutions has shown that corporations need to think, how do I stay off his radar? And frankly, that's the conversation that I have with a lot of consultants in Washington, D.C. A lot of their clients are coming to them and saying, what's the best way for me to get done what I need to get done, but not be on the president's radar? I don't want to earn a tweet. I don't want to earn a truth. How do I do what I need to do? And that's what you're seeing when you see the Intel deal that was so strange, and that even Republicans.
I'm sorry,
like,
you mean
what?
a CEO who 1 week the president said should be fired because he was unqualified for the job, and a week later they cut a deal? Is that what you mean?
Correct. Yes. Right.
For 10% of the company?
Anything to stay off the radar.
And it's not just that these billionaire tech CEOs are playing into his shtick, it's that they're playing a part. Today, there was a hot mic moment with Mark Zuckerberg from the end of that dinner where he whispered to Trump that he was sorry he hadn't picked up on a sort of alley-oop that Trump had thrown him during the meeting, during the press portion of the meeting, because they had choreographed it. So it's more than just that they're willing to bend the knee. It's that they're willing to be actively complicit in what is very self-conscious political fear.
So they're getting into the conversation that we had last week about the tech CEOs and their continued Donald Trump's continued influence over the tech CEOs, and how some people do not like the fact that our president is involving himself into business within the United States to then enforce a level of U.S. Patriotism by ensuring that the United States and these tech CEOs are investing money into the infrastructure of this country and our continued tech and AI movement moving forward. So the next video that we're gonna go over is specifically to the U.S. economy and the warning signs that we're currently having, strictly to CNN and African American women. Let's take a look at it.
If you want to know the direction of the jobs market, pay attention to the Black unemployment numbers. That's not my guidance. That's the guidance from economists and experts who know much more about this than I. But let me explain. Right now, the U.S. unemployment rate is at 4.3%. We just learned that very few jobs were added in August, about 22,000. That's not good. If you were to describe this via text, you send a red alarm emoji. Now, for Black workers, the data is worse. For now, another month, the unemployment rate is going up. It's now 7.5%. That's the highest it's been since October of 2021. And it's a number we've been watching ever since it was 6.8% in June. It's 2 alarm emojis. You dig even deeper, and you'll find that Black women are disproportionately struggling right now. The jobless rate for Black women is at 6.7%. The last time it was that high, September of 2021, back during the pandemic. Add one more red alarm emoji. Why is this happening? Economists have told us that when we see the unemployment rate going up for Black people, it's a sign that it could soon go up for all people. And as our CNN business team explains, Black workers are disproportionately employed in frontline and lower wage industries, as well as the government workforce. So what comes for Black people first often comes for everyone. And you know, those good government jobs have been a tool for Black people to build stable livelihoods, especially for Black women. But the federal workforce has been a target of this administration, along with immigrants and diversity initiatives. We have a lot to talk about. So joining me this morning, Latasha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter Fund, Stephanie Donegan, a former Republican candidate for the Georgia Senate and founder of Your Rich Life Media and the Stillwell Society, and Dalila Paul is the national editor of the news site Capital B. Welcome to you all. Stephanie.
So before we get started, we're going to first state what the gentleman is saying. He's stating that the United States unemployment rate as of August of this year is at 4.3%. Also, he states that as of August, Black women are at an unemployment rate of, I believe it was 7.6%. Let's go back to see what that was. 7.5%. So 7.5% for Black and African Americans. And then it was 6.7% for Black women. Right. I'm going to repeat that again. So it's 4.3% for across the, everyone across the United States. For Black and African Americans, it's 7.5%. And for Black women specifically, it is 6.7%. And the data shows that when it comes to unemployment hits African Americans and Black women first due to the type of jobs that Black people have, frontline workers, government workers, and things like that, blue collar workers, right? So due to those signs that unemployment is rising, which we did report as of last week, that these are going to hit everyone else shortly after, right? So the data shows that it hits the front line first, and then it trickles down. It's like a domino effect that then impacts others in the future. So they're going to start having this conversation about this, but this is very important because if you remember, and let's just talk government because I am a government employee. Let's just talk government for a second. Back in March of this year, when DOGE was cutting the federal workforce, and it's a whole bunch of federal agencies, federal cuts, programs, things like that. A lot of people were deciding to retire early because it was based on the retirement program that DOGE offered the federal workforce. Now, so this is very important for you to understand. Although people took the federal ability to retire, the report of their unemployment would not begin until September, even though they took the retirement, the early retirement in March. So from March through August, the reporting was for all of the federal workers that chose to leave the government. The reporting for them from an unemployment standpoint is not going to start until this month because they were getting paid up until September. So if I stopped working in March, I would be getting paid April, June, May, June, July, all the way up through September, and then I would then be unemployed. So unemployment is already moving up as of August. And if you take those things into consideration when it comes to the federal workers specifically, and we're talking federal only, what will be the unemployment rate in September? If it's 4.3 as of August, then more than likely it's going to continue to go up moving forward. Also, the report is only 22,000 new jobs were created. So you have an issue with people getting laid off. You have an issue with new jobs. It's not an influx of new jobs. So then you have people just being unemployed, which then impacts households, which then impacts homes, which then impacts the rental market, which then impacts everything. Right? Foreclosures, things, it's a domino. If you have a higher unemployment, you have less people being able to pay their bills. You have less people being able to pay their mortgage. You have less people than being able to pay their rent, which then impacts banks, which then impacts landlords. And it's a continual domino down to everybody. right? So as we get into this discussion when it comes to this unemployment with African Americans and Black women specifically, understand that although they're talking strictly to Black women and African Americans in general, the trickle down effect is to everyone afterwards.
Let me start with you. 22,000 jobs
Yes.
in August. June revised down now, the first month of job losses in 5 years. The president promised the golden era for America. Where is it?
I mean, ultimately, we have to just be honest and say it doesn't look good, which I know people don't expect me to say, but the reality is right now, because of all the cutbacks in the federal government, it is going to hit Black women disproportionately right now because of how much we are employed. That being said, I do believe that it is going to bounce back with the new businesses and new jobs that will be coming. But I think we need to give it time. I don't think we've given it enough time.
That's something we heard from the Commerce Secretary as well. Let's play what Howard Lutnick said.
We've seen that in all sorts of agencies throughout this government. The holdovers from the Biden administration they're just bent against the president's success. They're rooting against America and against Donald Trump, and that's got to end. So he can't replace somebody, 2 weeks ago, and you expect fundamental change.
Latasha, he says, give it time.
The challenge with this is that when you look at Black women, we, and particularly in terms of women, we are, in terms of participation in the labor market, we're 60% more than all of our women counterparts of the labor market. But what's interesting in federal jobs, we're about 11.7%, which means that's in parity of our population, right? But when you look in the private sector, we're less than 1.8% when you look at higher management jobs. So what we have seen is that federal jobs have actually created a pathway and opportunity that Black women, it demonstrates that when Black women are given an opportunity, that there are federal protections that allow us to matriculate, that what you see is that we're able to get representation. What he's saying around that we're supposed to just play on the market, but what we're seeing is an underrepresentation in the market, that oftentimes we're underpaid in the market, we're in entry-level jobs. You do not see the same kind of economic stability that we've seen with federal employment.
I saw your facial expression.
Because ultimately, a lot of the hiring I feel that's happened within the federal government was to check boxes for DEI, not necessarily because this was just perfect for them. And I only say that because of how many Black women have been employed. And I think that's part of the reason is we're seeing the layoffs that we're seeing and the unemployment, because that's how they got hired in the first place.
I think the interesting thing about that is that in terms of federal jobs, that is merit-based, that people actually are able to keep their jobs or even to literally ascend based on being merit-based. You don't see that in the private sector. So I think it's really to say that Black women working in these jobs is to check a box. It ignores the fact that is a merit base.
Well, to a degree, because I do know for federal government, depending on what your history is, if you have worked in the military, if you're Black, you do get extra points when it comes to hiring. And so being Black in general will push people up when it comes to hiring. Being a Black woman will push people up when it comes to hiring.
Yeah, can I pause? I think we have to think about the impact. I mean, the fact that you have thousands of Black women who are out of jobs, women from the age of 40-something, 50-something who are caregivers for their families. We've had reports. We have interviewed women who are struggling right now. So I hear what you're saying about the checking of the boxes, but I think we're losing sight of the human impact of this.
Actually, I agree with you on that. I actually feel that it's quite unfortunate that that has to happen, but we cannot continue to keep people in jobs to keep a payroll going.
Oh, yes. Can we stop for a second? All right. So first thing first, right? I'm gonna just be honest. I gotta do this. Life ain't fair, man. Life ain't fair. When you work in a free country, you are not entitled to a job, right? Meaning entitled from the standpoint that, because you have one, the company can't find a better employee, right? As someone that works and has worked for the government for a long time, right? I'm gonna just say that there are a lot of people that that get over with their their history and the things that they've done in the past, similar to what she was talking about when it came to being in the military or, your qualifications, in the past. So there are a lot of dinosaurs in the government. There's a lot of dinosaurs in every industry, right? But my point here is we look at this free society, this capitalistic society, and at times we think we're entitled to a position, we're entitled to a job, meaning someone can't replace you. You are replaceable. You are replaceable. I am replaceable. When it comes to working for a job, it is my responsibility to make sure that I am excellent at what I do to ensure my position. But even in that situation, there's also a possibility that I will not be working at that company long term. Not just based on the fact that I am a good employee, just based on the fact that the company might be making changes. And we see this all the time when it comes to big tech, private companies, and how they make changes all the time. I believe I just seen a company that was laying off. What company was that? A company that was laying off 5,000 workers coming up later this year into early next year. 5,000 layoffs. There it is. So Salesforce, Salesforce reduction of 4,000 customer service jobs and replacing some with human functions and AI. So we got companies laying off thousands of people based on artificial intelligence. And this is a whole nother conversation that we got to have when it comes to how technology is going to replace you, how AI is going to replace you. If you're a customer service agent, if you are a basic, person that answers telephones and help people out, AI is taking your job if it already hasn't. So understand that you are replaceable, and the way that these tech giants and these companies is moving forward, then when it comes to coding as well as graphic design, when ChatGPT or AI can then make me a thumbnail or make me a design or make me a blueprint. So now I can take architectures and engineers and people that create these things, and I no longer need, if I got 10, I only need about 3 or 4 of you, because I got AI to then do what you was doing, and your job is already then taken care of. And I don't have to pay someone $100,000 salary because that person has been replaced by artificial intelligence. There is always a way for you to be replaced. So you have to plan ahead and always be looking for what is the next opportunity and putting yourself in a position to be successful long term so that you won't be replaced, or you give yourself a lesser of a chance for someone to take your position, or for you to just be fired ultimately and then either replaced by a computer or some type of robotic artificial intelligent technology that can really do the majority of your job by itself in a much more efficient and faster pace. So when we are having this conversation about federal workers, private sector, unemployment rising, it's important that we don't sit and have a victimized conversation about how things isn't fair, because that's it's irrelevant to the results driven thought process that we got to have here on Financial Blueprint. We always got to be thinking results first, and not I am a victim, woe is me mentality, which really doesn't benefit you long term.
I think that's unfortunate.
But that's not, I mean, again, I have to disagree with you. I think a lot of the women who have been losing their jobs have played critical roles in government.
But if it was
and it's
really
beyond
critical,
DEI.
if it was
it's
really
beyond
critical,
DEI.
they would still have their job. It wasn't that critical.
No, they don't have their
just-
jobs because now there's a policy in place that really has been racialized. It's not, we're looking at a space that how were they able to ascend? It wasn't about the checking the box. It was hard work. We know that in a culture as in America, when have Black women ever been given something just because we're checking a box? The women, we are the cornerstone of this economy all across it.
Well, I hear you, but I can also say say that one of my first jobs was for the federal government, and I was very clear that I got pushed up ahead of people because I was Black and I could check the box.
Well, let me ask you this, because there's a gender economist, Katika Roy, who calculated between February and July that 319,000 Black women lost their jobs in the private and public sector. In that same period, job increases for white men was 365,000. There were 176,000 job gains for Hispanic women. There were 142,000 job gains for white women. And so when you suggest that these Black women were in jobs to check a box, reconcile that with the increases for these other demographics and communities.
Well,
those jobs were earned and they deserve better jobs and deserve to have more jobs, while the hundreds of thousands of Black women were just there to be pushed along and check a box?
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying, because ultimately I think we all can agree that DEI has not just helped Black women. So that's in the first place. DEI has helped minorities, women, white women. DEI has helped not just Black women, but when it comes to the conversation of federal workers, with us being such a large percentage of federal workers.
It's deeply insulting to say that. It's deeply insulting that when you're looking at federal workers, we make 11.7%. That's just in parity of our population. And so that there you have 80%, of more of people that represent different segments of society. So to suggest that Black women in some way, that our presence in the federal government has come from just somehow we are checking the box, really undermines the fact that we have been the cornerstone of the labor market in this country.
No, it doesn't. It just looks, that's the way you want to see it. It doesn't. Ultimately, Black women were not the only people who were laid off. It's just that the conversation we're having today is around the large percentage of Black women, and that is because of how many Black women are employed federally. But ultimately, when we talk about people who have still been employed, who have been hired of other ethnicities, of other races, I know for sure, I've seen the conversation on social media of people saying that they're not going back to work yet. I've seen the conversation of people saying that they're going to sit on unemployment. I've seen the conversation of people saying they're going to start businesses. And so ultimately, I don't even think the numbers are completely correct yet. And I don't know if we're going to know that for a few months.
Dalila, let me get you in here, and I'll bring this, that Black women bore the brunt of the job losses during the pandemic. They bore the brunt of the job losses of DOGE. And so as we look at this continue in private sector as well, what's that mean on a community economic level, on a home economic level, with Black women disproportionately being head of household in many homes?
I mean, it's the ripple effect. It's the fact that people can't pay their mortgages. People can't afford to take care of their parents who are sick. They have kids in college. But I want to also mention how, just back to her point about the jobs, the Department of Education had a large amount of Black women who were laid off. Many of these women worked in the civil rights divisions. These offices investigated discrimination against Black students. There are these real consequential ripple effects that are happening professionally and personally. And we have to keep that in mind.
So do we not think that these jobs will come, as this coming to the state, the Department of Education coming to the states, are we not looking at it as though the jobs will open back up? Are we not looking at it as though it stopped on a federal level, but it will move to a state level? Are we just ignoring that fact?
No, what we're looking at is that households are being impacted. What we're looking at
are we going to continue paying people just because we feel bad for them when those show that these divisions?
No, this isn't about feeling bad for them. We're saying that there are credible workers who have actually contributed and continues to.
But in departments in which we've shown waste, so we can't keep.
But how have we proven waste?
That's not been proven.
We've got to pause here. Latasha, Dalila, Stephanie, thank you all for staying with me. I will say here, where I started this conversation is where I want to put an exclamation point on the end. What has come for Black workers, and specifically Black women, economists say will be coming for everyone. So this will be a conversation over the next months and years that could expand.
The CEO of McDonald's In a recent CBS News poll, 2 out of 3 Americans told us they're stressed about their own finances. 3 out of 4 said their incomes are not keeping up with inflation. That's a lot of people struggling to make ends meet. And starting tonight in our series, The Cost of Living, you'll hear some of their stories in their own words. First, a single mother of 3, ages 1, 4, and 8, trying to make ends meet on a teacher's salary of $37,000.
Sweet, we're ready to rock. My name is Michelle Boisjoli. I am 37 years old. I am a teacher in St. Louis County, Minnesota. Since the price of eggs, bacon has gone up, we've done a lot more cereal. Eat it with your spoon. You gotta stay safe in the car, right? I've had to take on a second job just because everything has gotten so expensive. Hi, baby girl. I've been a teacher since about 2008. I love my brown shoes. I love my brown shoes. It's definitely not something that people go into for the money. They go into it because they love it, which is why so many of us do have to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. It takes multiple incomes to survive in this economy. I just left work and now I am going to go door dashing for a couple hours. It looks like our first delivery. We have to go to Burger King. Thank you. So this first one is $4.50 guaranteed, and then sometimes we get tips. I always grew up thinking about the stereotypical American dream where you own a house and you have a yard to play in. And I think that dream is dying. try to make every dollar count. A lot of the time, I'll just wait to feed myself until the end and then just eat whatever leftovers the kids haven't touched. Put your cute little bib on. A lot of the people making the decisions for us are wealthy, don't know what it's like to work 2 jobs, don't know what it's like to have to pay for gas with quarters, and yet they're making the decisions for us. If they knew a little bit about the average person who is fighting every day to make ends meet, I think that maybe they would make decisions that were actually helpful for the average person. Good night, sister. Come here.
Here's the latest on inflation. The government reported today that in the past 12 months, prices rose just under 2.5%.
In our special series, The Cost of Living, Americans are sharing their struggles to make ends meet. Tonight, a rookie cop in Connecticut, married, 3 kids, household income $120,000, and looking to buy a house.
This is his story in his own words.
Before we get started on this next story, I know I was on mute. Y'all couldn't hear what I was saying. My 2 biggest things when it comes to the previous lady's video is a 2-parent household is a must in this economy. You got to have group economics right now, right? If you make under $100,000 a year, and really $100,000 is not a lot of money anymore as much as people think it is, you got to have multiple incomes to then help your family live, right? And we're not even talking about security, protection, and freedom. We talking about just being able to live, right? In this current environment that we have inflation and higher prices, housing, rent, groceries, et cetera. Everything is expensive. It's important that the decisions that we make on a daily basis on how we operate and how we live our lives is very important to your financial success, right? So, being a single parent is hard as hell. And I don't wish it upon anybody specifically, but just make sure that we're making the right decisions and doing the right things, making the right choices to that then impacts us in our future. And then secondly, we have to do a better job choosing careers and jobs that then help us pay for our lifestyle, right? Teachers are a blessing, and teachers should get paid more. I think most people can agree that teachers are underpaid significantly, right? If you're not a professor at a college or something like that, more than likely you're underpaid. The type of job or the type of position, the type of career that you ultimately choose to do matters a lot, right? Technology, medical, when it comes to like architecture, anything when it has to do with math, engineering, there's so many ways that you can make a good amount of money in this new age that we have when it comes to technology. We got to help our children choose better pathways when it comes to what careers that they want to have. Right? I had this conversation with a few people, and they're like, "Well, I'm gonna just let my child choose whatever career they want." And I'm like, I mean, that's cool, like that sound good, but as a parent, as a father, it's my responsibility to propel my children in a life that I know that will benefit them long term. My thing is get the job and get the career that's going to help you pay your bills and allow that to then feed into what your passion is, right? You need a job to pay your bills, and you need a career that can help you live a life that you're not struggling and in poverty on a daily basis. That has to be the most important thought process, right? Not everything is going to be fun. Not everything is going to be comfortable, but what's important is your bills is paid for. You got a nice home to live in. You're not struggling. You're not worried about, living on the street tomorrow because, you're about to be homeless because you can't pay X, Y, and Z, or now your kids and your family got to then go into a shelter or live on, out of a car, or all of the things that we see nowadays. Security is so important. So sure, it's cool to want to say, "Oh, I just want to get a job that I love and that I have a passion for," and everything like that is kumbaya, but that's not real life. It's not real life. What's important as a father and as a parent is that I tell my children, "Hey, the way that the United States is moving and the way the world is moving, hey, technology, mathematics, artificial intelligence, engineering, architecture, the fields that are going to then propel the country forward, right? You got all of the trades, right? Plumbing, electrician, HVAC, all of that stuff is not going away. We're only going to need more energy and more data centers and more infrastructure, right? So get into a field that's going to help you live. And if you want to then have a passion project to do other things, then you can allow those funds to then impact your business that you want to build. And then that whatever passion that you ultimately want to do. But we got to get out of this thought process in this culture, because other cultures do this, right? There are other cultures that tell their children, yo, you doing this because this is going to help you live a good life. While we sit back in our culture at times and say, no, it's okay. Do what you want, even though I know you're going to struggle, even though I know you ain't going to be able to pay for housing in that salary. I know that salary is BS and it might hurt, but that's what you love to do. So it's all cool. Okay. That's not how I'm running my show here. That's not what's happening in this household. Right. But I am just got to send the recommendations out. Hey, I think you should go about doing it this way. Right. So let's get into this next story. This gentleman has, some children. He's a 2-parent household. Let's see how they're doing out here in this economy.
My name is Anthony Bartolini. I'm a police officer in Waterbury, Connecticut. I'm 29 years old. I've been a police officer about a year. Let's go. But every day is a struggle for me too. If I still have to worry about my next paycheck, where my next meal is coming from, I'm just like anybody else out there. Good morning, it's Officer Bartolini. I'm patrolling streets because you want to make sure that if you see something, you can do something about it. So I've been looking at houses pretty much every day. I wanted to buy one for a few years. To put 20% down on a house, that's a lot of money. Even I can't do it, working double shifts. In today's economy, even if I got a second job, wouldn't be able to afford it.
How was your day?
Good. My wife Sarah and I were waiting for our daughter to get off the bus. We'll eat something real fast, then we'll go look at a couple homes.
Oh, there's a bone in here? There is, yes.
There's a bone, yep. We've been having trouble finding the right home because the bigger the house you want, the more expensive it gets. And we need the room for the family, the dogs. They need a yard to run around in.
Turn right on George Street.
I like the neighborhood. Seems quiet. There she is.
Hello, come on in. We have 3 bedrooms on this level, 2 full baths.
It's a very nice house.
What price point are we looking at?
Probably around 300 to 325.
There has been a low supply, but there's still a demand. It's a very competitive market. So it checked all the boxes, but too bad somebody put an offer in before we got here.
Oh, if it falls through, we'll come back and revisit it.
I love you.
You do get defeated knowing that homes are so expensive after looking today. I hope people in power, they change the price of things. There has to be a way to make everything go cheaper. There's no way they can just keep going up and up and up, because then people won't be able to live. It's just so expensive. No one will be able to afford anything.
Inflation has been
Wow. That video is a microcosm to a bigger issue here in this current economy. You have a 2-parent household, you have children and dogs, and you have a young man that has a career, right? I would assume he makes, pretty well for himself. He's looking for a house, a 3-bedroom house, for around $325,000. As someone that has real estate properties and that is currently looking for another house and is starting a process to currently possibly build a home, I resonate with that story because I understand that place. Housing has went up so much to where you have this really competitive seller's market environment with high interest rates, that a $325,000 home is far and few in between, due to the fact that the demand of it is so high. So a lot of times, if you're going to find a house that's around 300,000, there are so many people buying in that same price range that it becomes a competitive environment. So now $300,000 homes asking price, people are now offering 325. They're offering 350,000. And if you are on a budget to where 300,000 or 325 is your limit, it's going to be hard, especially if you don't have the down payment. And if you're doing an FHA where you only need 3.5%, or if you're like myself that's been in the military and you're using a VA loan, which you have zero down, most sellers are going to go with cash. They want the 20% down because they want that influx of cash when it comes to selling their home. So it puts you behind the curve when it comes to real estate. Right. So in this current environment with high interest rates, real estate is competitive in that price point in between 200 and 350 and arguably up to 400. If you get to above the $400,000 range and $500,000 range, then you should see a little bit less competition. But that 250 to 350, 200 to 350 range in housing right now is insanely competitive. So, I hope and pray that family can buy a home for themselves. We are currently early in the stages of trying to build our own house, as well as getting more rental properties in the future. So I am starting that process, and actually I will I'll walk y'all through that process on this channel when we start going through the builders and talking to builders and talking to I have my real estate agents as well as my loan officer and attorney. So I resonate with that family, being that I'm someone that has bought multiple homes and that understands real estate very, very well, and is continuing to buy more real estate and possibly, God willing, build a home next year. All right. So that family is in a situation where they make money. It is a 2-parent household, and they still struggle due to high prices, high rent, as well as trying to find a home that they can afford in the competition in the current real estate environment. So that's tough. It's hard to get through that, but you just got to continue to keep working, continue to grind. As a real estate person, you got to continue to look for properties and continue to put offers in. When I bought my second home, I put 8 offers in, I believe, or was that my first house? I think it was my first house. When I bought my first house, I put 8 offers in. It took me 7 no's to get to my first yes. My real estate property, I just put. I think we looked at 2. I looked at 2 houses for real estate for rental properties. I was able to get the second one. So real estate world is tough currently right now. As we continue to see the Fed lowering interest rates over the next 6 months, it should help. It should help. But the one statement he made is prices got to go down. It ain't going down. It's not going down. You could possibly see a 3 to 5% downturn, but it's not. It's the housing market is not correcting itself anytime soon. So if you are someone that's looking to buy a house, don't bank yourself on lowering housing prices. If you see a buyer's market start to come because lower interest rate happens, and now you have more inventory on the market, which then lowers demand based on the fact that there is more inventory, more supply, then that benefits you as a buyer. But don't go into it thinking that there's going to be a downturn in real estate to where it's going to be a real estate crash. And that in our current situation, I doubt it, at least not for another year or so.
Rating in recent months, but prices are still nearly 24% higher than at the start of the pandemic.
In our series, The Cost of Living, Americans are telling us about their struggles to make ends meet. And we conclude with a widow on Social Security. After rent, she has less than $200 to live on.
Here, kitty, 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 kitty. My name is Olivia Marino Carlson. I'm 70 years old. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I cannot afford to retire. I live off of Social Security, which does not pay all my bills. That's why I'm looking for work. My husband was a mechanic. He developed MS. I took care of him until he passed away. I was working retail, lifting boxes. It was very hard. I'm going to the library to use the internet to look for work. I did not think that being 70 would be like this. I'm asking if there's any positions or work positions available here.
We don't have anything open right now, but keep an eye on it.
I put in an application here at Walgreens. I haven't heard back, so I'm going to check to see what's going on. They don't have an update on my application. The cost of food has gone up. Every time I blink, it goes up. I get better prices here.
You chose me $10.25?
This is where I have a Bible study.
We thank you so much for this evening.
There are times when I do feel like giving up, and coming to this group helps me continue on.
Good. Right.
My greatest obstacle right now is being able to support myself. It is hard for me just to survive. I wish people in power would think more with their heart. It is hard for me to accept that I'm not able to enjoy the rest of my life because I have worked hard all my life. Would think more with I wish.
I want to stop at this moment right here. And I want everyone to take a look at this lady's face at the moment, because this is why we do this channel. This is why we do this right here. Because you do not want to be retiring and struggling. Like this hits home for me because, prayers up for her. I do not want to be that person. Every decision you make today affects you 3 to 5 years from now, which then will affect you 10 to 20 years from now. That's just the truth. So when we out here and having this financial blueprint conversation, we're not out here playing games, because ultimately in the end, you're either going to thrive or you're not. And unfortunately, she has worked, like she said, her whole life and has $200 to her name after she pays her bills. And that's unfortunate. That's so unfortunate. It's important that we take the tools, that we make intentional decisions, that we at times, and we're going to get to tools in a second on how we can then impact and how we can impact our future, and what we need to do in this current environment, this current economy. But everything that you do matters when it comes to your future. You should be planning for your retirement every day. And really, it's not just about retirement. It's about a lifestyle that you want to live long term. So, yeah, sure. Some people retire at 60. I want to retire at 45. And retiring for me does not mean not working. Retirement for me means I have the ability to choose to work or not. It's the ability to have the freedom to do so or not. It's not having to be forced to do so because I didn't make the decisions or I didn't do the things I needed to do to put myself in a position to be long-term successful for myself and my family long-term. This right here is a reflection of the daily choices that people make that then impacts them in a negative way long term. I don't know her personal situation. I'm not talking about her personal situation. I'm just saying that you don't want to be the 70, 80-year-old person at Walmart as the greeter saying, good afternoon, welcome to Walmart. Because that person retired early or retired thinking they had enough money to sustain themselves, but that actually didn't happen. They actually now have to go back to work and be a greeter for people that they don't like, that they don't want to see, all based on the fact that they don't have enough money to sustain their life in the latter years on this earth. So as we get into the tools that we're going to talk about that will impact, and the things that we can do currently in this economy and ultimately to propel ourselves forward, it's so important that we take a moment and we reflect on the possibilities that we either will succeed long term or we will be someone that might need to be a greeter at Walmart. Right? That's just the truth. Right? When I went and bought another TV this past weekend and I'm walking in Walmart and this gentleman is standing there, older gentleman standing there saying, good afternoon. I'm like, okay, good afternoon, sir. And it's unfortunate because nobody wants to be that guy as the greeter at Walmart. And no offense to Walmart. I got no issues with Walmart. I'm just stating that that's not the lifestyle that I want for myself. That's not the lifestyle I want for my children. And that's definitely not the lifestyle that I want for you. So make sure that you are doing the things that we're about to discuss to ensure your long-term success in your financial journey. All right, so let's get into some tools. And off the top of my head, there's a couple of things that I just know off the top of my head that is a must. One, you got to have a budget. You got to have a budget. A budget is not how much do you spend. You need to know how much you spend on everything every month. Monthly budget. My mortgage, your rent, electricity bill, all your bills, utility bills. If you got a car note, if you got, obviously if you got car insurance, if you pay for subscriptions, you pay for gas, variable expenses that change every month, which is gas, maintenance on your car, variable expenses that change every month, fixed expenses that don't change, your mortgage, your rent, your I guess your car insurance, things that don't, the set bills that don't change is fixed expenses. Variable expenses are things that do change, right? So everything need to be on a spreadsheet. You got to know. This can't be a question. You got to know what your budget is, how much money is coming out every month. And you got to redo that budget every 3 months. Every quarter, you need to look at it and say, okay, am I currently still spending the same amount of money? Am I spending a little bit more? Am I spending a little bit less? Second thing, can you cut your expenses? Because sure, you know your income, you know your expenses. What's that number that's left over? Are you plus or are you negative? If you negative, you definitely got to lower your expenses, have a lower lifestyle, spend less money on going out to eat and things like that. But if you are in the green, you still need to ask yourself the same question. Are you overspending on things that you don't need? As someone that has a household and children, I always am analyzing and seeing, like, are we overspending? Because we do spend, right? But we need to make sure that we're not overspending, because the next thing and the next two things we talk about is so important and why you need to cut your budget or cut your expenses if need be. Number 3, pay off your debt. Please. Pay off your debt. Pay off your bad debt. Bad debt. Let's just go over bad debt real quick. Bad debt is money that's coming out that's not bringing you money in, right? So your car note is terrible debt. Everyone needs a car. We understand that everyone needs a car. But your car note is bad debt. Significantly bad debt. If you are someone that has a car note and you can pay off that car, Do everything you possibly can to pay off the car as soon as possible. Right? I paid off a car in 2 years. Earlier this year, I paid off my car. It is one of the most gratifying experiences is to have your title and not have to actually pay a bank, because your car is officially your car. Because if you didn't know, your car ain't really yours until you pay it off. Right? Credit card debt. By far the worst debt you can have. Stop spending extra on these credit cards. Be disciplined. If you need to put your credit cards away, hey, take a scissors to them, put them in a book somewhere, lock them in the safe, and pay off these balances. Debt is death, and we had a whole playlist about debt specifically. But debt is death. It is weight on your shoulders that then cannot allow you to do the next thing, which is invest. You cannot be someone that housed so much debt and you're spending and spending and spending, and then you're paying and trying to pay down this debt with interest rates, and they're just compounding. The rates is compounding on top of your balance. They're then charging you interest on the balance that you currently have. It's an uphill climb, and it's one of those situations that in some cases people got hundreds and thousands of dollars in credit card debt, which is insane. Absolutely insane. Right? So car notes, credit cards, personal loans, student loans, all of these things are debt that you need to get off of your shoulders. Right? You will not be able to run at a pace that is significant when you have all of this weight on you. It's impossible. Right? These are the things that we can control because we control how much we spend. We control the type of debt that we have. We ultimately control if we're going to be financially responsible and disciplined. All right. Number 4, you have to invest. Investing has to be a part of your lifestyle, the same way that your diet is a part of your lifestyle, or your health is a part of your lifestyle, or going to the gym is part of your lifestyle, or reading the Bible if you are someone that does that, or something. Like, it has to be a part of your daily discipline, your weekly, your monthly discipline, your quarterly discipline. You have to get into a lifestyle of it, because that is how you then propel yourself in this environment forward. There's no other way. There's no other way to do it. You make money. You have a budget. You lower your expenses. You pay off your debts, and you invest your money continuously and consistently over a long period of time. Investing money could mean the stock market. It could mean real estate. It could mean crypto. It could mean owning a business. It could mean, a lot of things, but you have to do all of it. Right? So let's go down the list. Number 1, budget. Number 2, lower your expenses. Lower your lifestyle. Make sacrifices. Right? Number 3, pay off your debts. Number 4, invest. And then number 5 is create a business, gig economy, create extra income that you can then use to then really propel yourself forward when it comes to your investments, your business. You growing money on the side. You have multiple streams of income to where then you can really get yourself in a financial situation that can then be free or provide security to you, rather than the paycheck to paycheck struggle, stress environment that we currently live in today. All right. So it's very important that we take a moment. We understand that the United States economy is struggling currently right now. We have higher unemployment. We have people that can't pay their bills. A gentleman's trying to buy a house. He can't buy a house. It's too competitive of an environment currently. And then we have a retiree that is struggling in this current environment. She can't really do much outside of her bills and it's struggle. Right. So we got different people in different facets of their life. Remember the young lady that was a mother and a teacher, only making $37,000 annual salary, and how hard that is. These are all examples of different types of average Americans that do different things, are in different places of their lives, that are all struggling, right? We talked about the tools and the things that we need to do to then impact our lives in a positive way. I will implore you again: 1, budget; 2, lower your expenses, make sacrifices; 3, pay off your debts; 4, invest your money; number 5, create passive income, gig economy, business, something that's going to then impact you financially and bring extra money into your pocket that can help you propel yourself forward, right? If we do these things, we are going to be in a better situation than we currently are in today, right? Tap in with me, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm live on YouTube on Friday, and we are talking stock market live. We will go over the stock market. We will pull some charts up. We're going to talk about some things, see where we currently are as we continue to propel on this financial journey together on Financial Blueprint. Man, it's Antoine Smalls. I'm out. Have a good day. Peace.